shock absorbers. Hello, shock absorbers.
Yeah.
And welcome to the seventh episode of the To Be Social podcast with me, Sam, my friend Ciaran.
Hello.
And joined today by our guest, Richard Van Nairn, who's joining us from Innosonix.
Yeah, Innosonix.
Welcome.
Thank you, mate.
Welcome
Good to
to
be here.
the To Be Social podcast. Hopefully by now we've got repeat listeners. Everything's going really well. There's millions of views on YouTube. Loads of people logging through on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, whatever. You can get it all everywhere. Follow the link tree if you want to find your preferred platform.
A link tree?
Link tree?
What's a link tree?
Oh, you haven't done your homework, have you?
I don't do any homework.
Oh.
How do you not know what
Mate,
a link tree is?
Come on, keep
Wait,
up.
I don't do any social media. LinkedIn's about as far as I got.
Yeah, fair point.
I only got an eBay account 18 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you've moved swiftly into something else here, haven't we?
What's a link
Let's
tree?
talk about all our wonderful times of things that we haven't got and only just got. It's so Norfolk of you, isn't it?
I'm not even from Norfolk.
I
just live there.
Either way.
Oh.
Behave. Today we're going to be having a conversation again about the journeys, the path through the audio industry, finding out some interesting facts about technology and the individuals that make up our industry and how they position themselves and what they do and how they find their path. And we've had some really great conversations with some amazing guests. And Richard, I've known for a really, really long time now.
Long time.
Scarily long time. in
It
fact.
is actually. I was thinking about it today.
And we've had some phenomenal times.
Had some great times.
There's been some laughs.
It's been a lot of laughs.
I don't think there's been any tears.
Not yet.
Not yet. Nearly.
No, I was close. There was that one time.
Okay. Who was crying?
You.
I don't cry. I'm a real man. I don't show my emotions. Anyway, so yeah, Richard, you are the international sales manager
I
for
am.
a brand of
Digital multi-channel amplifiers with a difference, Sam. Remember
digital
that?
multi-channel amplifiers with a difference.
Mhm.
I do know this because, funny enough,
Yeah.
we're the UK
distributor, thank you. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah, yeah.
I'm only messing about. Of course, I know what they are, but for our viewers and our listeners, enlighten us. Tell us all about it.
Tell us about Innosonix.
What's the difference?
The difference being, okay, if you had a digital matrix mixer and then you had a multi-channel amplifier, as we all know it, and those two devices had a child, that child would be Innosonix.
So the love child of
The love child
a
of
digital
two
matrix
existing
mixer
products to be
and
the
a
perfect.
multi-channel amplifier
Yeah,
is
that's
an
the difference.
Innosonix.
that is an Innosonix product. Yeah,
Amazing.
that's exactly what it is.
And just we're gonna rewind back to the beginning.
Of our relationship.
Well,
or-
not just our relationship.
Oh right, okay. How do you not make it sound like that?
Well, we
you know?
didn't
I
have
don't know.
I don't know. I'm
know.
trying.
We didn't have the glamorous
No.
introduction like me and Ciaran done at an airport. So
No.
unfortunately, everything else is inferior in
It is
in
because
standing. But
your beginnings were special.
we're going to talk about you first,
Okay.
rather than us, because I know us. Tell us about how your journey started into audio. Where did it all begin for Richard?
Okay, so I've always been obsessed with audio. It would seem like my aunt told me this. Weird thing, my aunt was telling me the other day, or telling me and my lovely fiance Sadie, that the first time they realised I loved music is so my mum was a professional ice skater. So my mum's a professional ice skater, my dad's a professional tennis player, right? And when she was pregnant.
Hang on, what went wrong?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
What did go wrong?
I
I'm not a
couldn't let that
sportsman.
slide
I'm not
by.
a sportsman at all. I'm not a sportsman at all. But basically, when she was pregnant, she was teaching. I think she was teaching like the Blue Danube or something. There was like a track that they were playing, and they were playing it again and again and again and again. Anyway, I was born, and I was humming that tune as a baby. I was humming it at like 9 months, and there's like a dictaphone recording of me humming the Blue Danube as a baby.
Well,
So I must have
we're
heard
in a
it.
modern world now. We don't have a dictaphone. But
Yeah,
we've
I
got
know.
a podcast mic, so please, for the purposes of
What's a dictaphone?
verification.
No,
I
no,
did
not
defend-
explain it. You
No,
have to hum
you
it.
got to hum it, mate. I want a tune right now. You're on camera. You got to do it.
I can't remember it. How bad's that?
Sacrilege.
Oh, well,
Anyway,
that's how it goes.
that was like basically the beginnings of it, I suppose. That's what my parents say. But yeah, I was always obsessed with music and audio. And my grandfather, who was sadly I never met, he was a professional trumpet player, like in the West End, Beatles records. He was like a gun for hire. And back then he would jump from the West End to various studios all over Soho and just play on tracks. So I was named after him, but I never met him. And then because of that, I think they always just were pushing music on me pretty heavily from a little child.
So did you play an instrument?
Yeah, I played guitar. I was obsessed with guitar. Played a lot of guitar. Bit of piano, bit of drums, bit of bass, bit of all that kind of stuff.
And where did the step towards the professional world come from?
So when I was at college, I think I was lost. I didn't really know what I was. You know, when people were like, well, "What are you going to do?"
Yeah.
And everyone's asking you that. Like, oh, what do you want to do?
I still feel like that now. I'm 41.
Yeah,
It still
exactly.
doesn't make any sense.
So when you're like 15, 16 years old, you're like, I've got absolutely no idea what I want to do.
minefield.
I had no idea. I was like, oh, I'll be a zoologist, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. And I just kind of just fell in love with music. Actually, weirdly, so we all did the work experience, right, at school, or college. And my dad, luckily, was teaching Pete Townshend's tennis at the time. So fortunately, my dad, during a tennis lesson, went, well, my son is he's obsessed with music, Pete. Do you mind if he does 2 weeks in your studio? And I did that.
So that was your first exposing
to a recording studio. I knew I loved audio and I loved bands, I loved writing music, but I had no understanding of how records were made. Absolutely no understanding. So literally walked through the door. I remember it, like it was amazing. And it's like Eel Pie Studios. It's right next. I don't know if he still owns it. But he did have a facility that was opposite, it's a real secret, opposite Richmond Lock, where Richmond Lock is. And he used to have like a big kind of boat. He had a studio on the boat, and then 2 studios in the facility itself. It's like a compound, basically. You'd never know it was there. You'd never know. It just looks like a building.
Until now.
Until now, yeah. Go visit it. Stand outside it, the whole thing.
Yeah. Woohoo, Pete!
But yeah, and it was full of all the gear that we salivate over now. And I had no understanding of this at all. Absolutely no understanding. And I was just making teas, coffees, and just sitting in the back of this recording studio and just watching all these boys go to work. And it was weird because it was like it was his project studio. So it was like mates of his would come round and cut records for 2 weeks. And I just sat
chill
there.
out and
literally, and I was just watching all this happen. And I remember sitting there going, this is incredible. It was either some guy just came in with an idea, wrote a whole song, or someone came in and did an entire record, and then they just produce that record. New ideas, new everything.
What was the single best thing that you learned out of that experience?
Single best thing I think I learned was artist management, like Red Light Fever. You know Red Light Fever? So like, Red Light Fever. Is it red?
People get scared of the red light and then they cock up.
What's that called?
Stage fright?
Lack of practice.
Well, whatever it's called.
I know what you mean.
Watching Miles was the guy. Miles, if you're out there, you're a ledge. Miles, watch him manage artists was incredible. It was just the way that he made you feel that you didn't have any pressure. He sometimes didn't even say people were recording him. He was like, just run through that quick. Do the entire record and then...
So capturing a moment.
Bottling lighting.
Being aware
bottling
that
lighting.
It was,
that's exactly...
And they just gave their best performance.
That's exactly what he did.
On a whim, as opposed to a structured moment of pushing a button and saying, yes, go for it.
And it just exposed me to like actually pure creativity. So at that point I was obsessed. I was like, okay, well, how do I do this? How can I do this? Only got 2 weeks. I was blagging for more, but they changed the locks or whatever they did, because I didn't live that far away as well. So I just get my bike and ride down there and ring the intercom to try and get in. I mean, it was ridiculous. But I knew that's what I wanted to do.
A police order.
No, they just stopped answering the intercom. They just stopped answering the intercom.
That's
I was putting
no,
accents on the whole thing. They just stopped. But then I was like, okay, want to do that. And then I signed into a music tech course, because at that point, that was an option. There weren't many of them around. Now they're everywhere. It seems everyone's doing music tech course at the time. Didn't know a thing. No idea what compression, EQ, microphone. I had no idea what anything was. Bought a laptop. Bought an M-Box 2. Those blue ones.
With a free copy of
Pro Tools LE7. Yeah.
I remember that.
Here we go.
£100 and you got Pro Tools for free.
Yeah. And I just went in there. I went in there and did the course. And TVU, which is now West London University. I think they've renamed it quite a while ago. But everyone there, amazing. Like Pitt Williams, Simon Skolsky-Thomas, all these guys were incredible. And I just got absolutely fully immersed in that world. And then from there, I managed, this is another parent thing. I mean, parents as sports people is amazing. But my mum's old boyfriend was a guy called David Richards. And David Richards, R.I.P. David, was the producer for Queen. So he did It's a Kind of Magic on with Queen. So in Montreux,
Caliber, man.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
We've
And
never had this discussion, have we? This is cool. Like,
did you not know about
No,
this?
we never.
Oh, right, okay.
No, we skipped over it. And
So
probably,
yeah, she always used to talk to me about him. She was like, "Oh yeah, I remember my old boyfriend phoned me up from a recording studio in Chiswick, which probably was Metropolis, I guess, back in the 80s." She was like, he phoned me to see how I was doing, and he sung the chorus of It's a Kind of Magic down the phone to me. He's like, "I'm working with Queen. Here's a song. It could be a good one." This is obviously before Highlander or before the film or before anything. And she always remembers that. So I guess she put two and two together and was like, well, hang on a second. My son's obsessed with this, and I dated a guy that I guess did it. So she just reached out to him and said, can my son come and stay with you in Montreux for 8 weeks? And I had no idea who he was. My mum hadn't talked to him in 20 years. I got on an EasyJet flight, never been to Switzerland in my life, got on a train from Geneva to Montreux, couldn't speak a lick of French, none of it. Turn up in Lausanne, there's this guy, David, cigarette, all right, mate, how you doing? Yeah, get in the car. Got in the car, went to his house, and that was it.
So you've just won the prize for the most rock and roll story
Yeah,
to
it's pretty
appear
good.
on the To Be Social podcast so
100%.
far. Give that man, you've got a
Yeah.
glass of water. Have a sip. You've deserved
Thank
it.
you
The
very
way you
thank you very
described the
much.
story, it sounded like it was going in a different direction.
No, but
No. But it really was like, it's like, I had to do it.
Yeah.
There was like no kind of like, you couldn't think about it, you just had to do it. And weirdly, that's exactly what he did. He was working at Chapel's Music Shop. This is David. He worked at Chapel's Music Shop on Bond Street when the original place though.
Okay. Selling pianos.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it had some form of connection to EMI. I don't know how, but he got a phone call there and they were like, "Hey, we need you to get on a plane, come to Geneva. You need to sort something out." Got on a plane, got on a train, went there, and then ended up running the famous Montreux recording studio that Queen ended up buying. That was in Montreux's casino. So Queen had it, and that's where they worked and did a load of amazing stuff, made a load of amazing records. The Stones did a load of stuff there. I think Status Quo definitely did a load of stuff there. Do a bit of Googling. Loads of people did a load of stuff there. EMI sold it. I think that's what David said. EMI sold it, and he bought all the equipment in it, all of it. And this is like incredible Neve consoles. It's got like EMT plates, a load of like Neumann U47s, like loads of incredible URE 1176s, amazing stuff. He bought it all and just stuck it in his house in Montreux and just made that into a recording studio. And that's where he did Queen and all the Freddie's old stuff before Freddie died in 92, was it? Yeah. And I did 2 summers there. And it was incredible. He was a genius. Like, he was wild, crazy man, had various issues that I'm sure are well documented probably. But yeah, amazing. So yeah, I did that. And then it was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Because that didn't really work out for whatever reason. I had to come back to London. And then I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I can't work in recording studios. Like, I'd worked in various like recordings and recorded loads of bands and all kinds of stuff. I tried my best to do all kinds of stuff, but I was kind of like, I don't think I can make a living from this.
Is that what the driving decision was, though? Because it said, when you describe it, you said, this is what I know, I've got to do this. So you went into it knowing it. So did you at any point know that you didn't want to do the musician side? And then what point did it switch? And then you go, actually, I've gone from wanting to record.
I felt that I was better. I'm more better at recording and dealing with people than I was a player.
Yeah.
I knew that I was I could play guitar, no doubt, but there's people that are so much better than I could ever be.
Yeah.
And I realised that I need to be good at something in order to stand out. And a record production for me was that. But even then I was like, I can't make a living from this. I mean, I could, but I don't think I'd be able to support a family. I mean, it's all kinds of things that in my head I just couldn't get past. So I found myself working in Marks and Spencer's.
Good sandwiches.
Great sandwiches, mate, but stacking fruit at 4 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever the hell it is in Kingston.
Makes your own fun.
But mate, do you know what I mean? It's just not, it's not the one. It's not the one.
But that is
I've got some
the rock and roll
about
part.
that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, what?
That's the rock and roll part of it.
Yeah.
Because that's the journey that so many people take. We talked about this like quite a few episodes ago, you know, like finding your path and the journey into the industry. It's not defined. There's no structure to it.
There's no structure.
You can't just go along and work your way into a structured career path where you know exactly where you want to end up. Those routes don't necessarily exist. And certainly from the early stages, defining what suits you, your personality, your interests, isn't clear.
No.
And you know, sometimes you need a moment in Marks and Spencer's just to, you know.
Yeah, so Marks and Spencer's, and I was like, I just can't be doing this anymore. This is kind of like really soul destroying. But actually, to be honest with you, I would say anyone, like if you're young or whatever, go and work in a supermarket or go and work in a restaurant or do something like that, because it's like it gives you an understanding of how to, one, deal with the general public, which the general public and
customer service skills.
Exactly.
It's so important.
Vital.
Across
It's all
the
soft
board.
skills, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. My customer service job, well, I had a couple of these, but yeah, I worked in, I was an entertainment rep for Thomas Cook.
Oh, there we go.
JMC Holidays, as it was at the time.
Yeah.
And I left there and I went to work at Chessington World of Adventures.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
And those two positions, although were technically focused,
Yeah.
being in the environment of which I needed to be customer facing, gave me a huge amount of awareness of things that I probably would never have ever got the chance to be part of previously and ever again, to be honest with you. There's not many days of the week where I get to walk through a zoo on the way to my office with lions and tigers and bears on mine. There's not many days of the week where I get to fire a life-size dummy of Dennis the Menace 50 feet into the air and catch it on a net or play with
sounds
a
pretty
pneumatic ram with hydraulic lifting, you know, all sorts of crazy stuff that I got to play with. That was probably one of the best jobs I ever had, to be honest with you. Most
That sounds like a
enjoyable.
pretty good job to me.
Yeah, and socially, probably the best group of friends I think I've ever.
Yeah. Because you're all in it together, aren't you?
Yeah, and we've stayed like in contact in the most part, you know, across 20 plus years.
Wow.
And that's just insane, like how much fun we had that summer. I think it was a rare moment because, yeah, I don't think there's many people that could say that they've played in a theme park backstage for for 8 months of a year and had a great time doing it. Anyway, that's a whole different story for another day. This is not my day. This is your day.
My day.
So you've done Marks and Spencer's.
Done Marks and
What was the
Spencer's.
change?
I applied for a technical sales music job. I read the specification of what was required, and I was like, well, I kind of know about this stuff. I don't have any sales experience, but I'm pretty sure I can do it. Turned up to Acton, obviously, where we met, at MC Audio. And
The London Microphone Centre.
The London
Some may
Microphone-
know it.
company or centre?
I thought it was London Microphone Centre.
Oh, well, probably is that then. I don't know.
I've no idea.
But yeah, I went in there.
Read the staff training.
And it
handbook
was,
then.
but it was amazing because I went in there and I was like, oh my God, there's consoles, there's microphones, there's compressors, there's stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, I immediately feel at home. I know this world. This is cool. And then I had an interview with our friend JP, ledge that is JP, and that was it. Got the job. I was more than anything just actually so happy I was not working at Marks and Spencer's. I mean, that last day when I left, it was just the most beautiful thing in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I loved it.
What did you miss most about Marks and Spencer?
Do you know what, actually? It reminds me, so I would get bored because I was just like, do you know what? This is just, I need some creativity. And every morning you turn up there at 3 o'clock in the morning and fruit was my aisle. Fruit, if you go to Kingston, Marks and Spencer's, fruit's the first one. I turn up there and all the produce is in the middle of the aisle, right? So you just have to basically stick it out, just put it where it belongs. Anyway, so I went there and there was a pallet. It's about Christmas time. So this is like late November, early December. And there is a pallet of tangerines or satsumas or whatever.
Yeah.
Clementines.
Clementines.
Clementines, thank you. There's a pallet of them. And I was like, right, okay, so if it's out in the aisle, it has to go out. So I just do it. All right, fair enough. But the pallet wouldn't fit where the Siemens was supposed to be. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just think outside the box. Let's just see what we do. So I did a whole presentation, like a whole kind of like Tiffany's window kind of thing, but in the fruit aisle
of clementines. Easy pickings.
Amazing.
Did the whole thing, right? Anyway, so this manager, Jack, I remember this guy, and he was like, so I was like 19 or 20 or whatever it was. He was 16. So talk about a driven kid. This guy was in the suit, the whole thing, and he wanted to be area manager. That was his goal at that young age. Amazing. I don't know where he is now. Probably area manager, hopefully.
He's still there, mate.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
He was like, what do you think you're doing? I was like, what do you mean, what do you think I'm doing? He goes, you've just put out 2 weeks worth of clementines or whatever. And I was like, well, what do you mean? The pallet was here. He goes, no. We didn't want you to stick it all out. We just wanted you to take what you needed and then leave it on the pallet and then we bring it downstairs. So I was like, oh, okay.
Well, you were meant to get,
and I got absolutely, oh yeah, what am I? Like clairvoyant or whatever. I'm going to read your mind, Jack. No. But I just remember doing it and thinking this is really great. And then as the weeks went on, the area manager of that time came at lunchtime. He was like, "Oh, this is really cool what you've done with this, Jack." And this Jack guy took the credit, didn't he?
Of course he did.
Of course he did.
Of course he did.
He was like, "Oh yeah, no, well, Kingston, we want to, Anyway, after that, he was like, "Right, you have to do this. We have to do this." And I mean,
did they sell the 2 weeks worth of clementines in
more or
less time than they were expecting?
But I didn't know that. I can say I knew that, but I didn't. I just kind of got presented with a problem and was like, okay, problem, solution, done. And that was the funnest thing.
These are great lessons that transfer across the board, aren't they? And there's Jack had a great management lesson there.
He did.
He didn't leave the instruction.
No.
And give you the guidance needed.
But admittedly, I probably should have checked.
You could have checked.
I would do now.
But you also used initiative. So which one is the winner?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think using initiative, how can you curb creativity? And look what it resulted in. Creative sales.
Yeah.
And you turned clementines into cash.
Clementines into cash. That's a T-shirt right there.
Clementines into cash. It's a T-shirt.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's a bit of merch.
Through the power of editing, for those that are listening, we have just cut the recording and I have now reappeared in camera shot wearing a T-shirt that has been sent to me anonymously to my home address.
You thought it was me.
By a random fan of the To Be Social podcast. Can you believe it? I actually have been gifted a T-shirt that says what?
It says Jelly Beans Legend on it. Yeah. It's rather fetching.
Jelly Beans Legend. So if said fan can make themselves known, it would be really appreciated. Firstly, because I just want to say thank you. And secondly, because who the hell are you? Anyway,
they
Richard,
know you live.
Next time, we're going to have a T-shirt that says Clementines.
Please do.
Clementines
Please
for cash.
do. Clementines cash.
Clementines for cash.
Clementines for cash.
Hello, Clementine.
Very good. So we've moved away from audio, but I feel that
Should we try and get back into
No,
that?
but it's the same thing though, because like you said, it's all the soft skills, it's all the customer service.
Yeah.
Your management thing with your fruit at 4 o'clock in the morning at Marks and Spencer's has
Yeah.
served you in your professional career since, hasn't it?
But it's
time
also
and time again.
But it also serves you like how you deal with people as well. Like, like if I deal with someone at a restaurant or anyone that's serving me or whatever, I'm always the nicest person that I can physically be because I know how awful some people can really be. So
And that comes back to humanity. We talk about this a lot.
Yeah, we do.
But I think it's so important. It really is. So we've left Marks and Spencer's. We've just started work at the London Microphone Centre company.
Yeah.
We'll get some clarification on that. Paul Hinckley, make yourself known.
Paul Hinckley,
Tell us
absolute ledge.
The true definition of the 3 letters.
Let him do that. I think it's London Microphone Company, but you think it's London Microphone Centre.
I'd love to have Paul on here. Paul, come and have a chat.
Paul would be great.
Let's come and
Paul
have a chat.
Paul would be great. Paul,
I don't know, Paul.
Will.
Looking forward to it though.
Yeah. But it was amazing. Yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, everyone kind of knows about LMC or should know about LMC, but when I worked there, it was amazing team, strong guys. And at that point in time, we were doing part exchanges of secondhand gear to new gear and new products and all that kind of stuff. And again, it was less record production, so less of my background, more live. So again, I had pretty much no understanding of live sound whatsoever. So I was having to learn on the fly there.
How did you find the transference of knowledge from studio-based recording and production into the live sound knowledge base?
It wasn't that challenging because I understood signal chain. So I think if I understood the signal chain from microphone to desk and then out of the desk, when it's out of the desk and then going into, loudspeakers and feedback and all that kind of stuff, that's where my knowledge was like, that's where I had to learn everything, really. And then, having to learn about, radio microphones, all that stuff. And spectrums and all that kind of cool stuff, which that's where you kind of come into it.
It was at that point. I mean, I haven't touched a radio microphone for about 9 years, strangely. But,
But that's how we were connected. I remember the day that, Pemberton came in with you and was like, this is my replacement and this is Sam. And I was like, nice to meet you, Sam. And then, from there on, this beautiful friendship has kind of...
That's cool.
Have blossomed, yeah.
We have to acknowledge the little music you can probably hear in the background.
Yeah.
Matt's downstairs with some customers, so we are filming this today in To Be Heard in Sheffield. So if you are interested in a demo, get in touch with one of us and come and listen to some of the stuff because it is well worth it. So we've got some customers grooving out at the bottom. You can probably hear it coming in the
somewhere
mix.
In the background, yeah.
Unless you wang a high pass. Or a low pass.
It's no, you want a high pass, man.
You want a high pass?
Just take that out.
There you go.
So you've made it into live sound.
Made it into live sound, made it into LMC.
Learned a new set of skills.
Yep.
You've learned about RF and different elements of what makes up live audio signal chains. And you're doing sales.
I am doing sales.
You're meeting different people in and around the live production world.
I am.
Who's the most influential person you met within that period of time?
I don't know, really. I don't think you know at the time if anyone's influential
now
at
you're
all.
looking back on it.
Yeah, but even looking back at it, I think conversations that you can have with someone tomorrow may not have an effect on you for a decade to come. So I think at LMC it was a bit of a tricky I just met loads of lovely, lovely, lovely people. I think that's what really went on. I didn't know how to really sell, but I just knew that I enjoyed talking to people and I enjoyed building relationships. And I enjoyed maybe building and closing deals. The interesting thing at LMC is people would go, okay, well, it's the one thing that I learned a lot there, especially from JP, was I always ask a question. Never come out of a conversation without asking a couple of questions and learning something. So even if you called me or if I called you and I would just get, I wouldn't go, well, what do you want? I'd go, well, what are you using at the moment? Or what do you think of that? Or what's your favorite PA? Or what's your favorite microphones? Or what's your favorite desks? Or whatever it may be. I would learn a lot from you. But whether you knew I was getting that information from you, I don't know. But you were having a nice conversation with me and I was having a nice conversation with you. But what I would get into the conversation was, well, what are you looking for? Just so I know. If in case I find it or come across it, just so I know. And then you kind of, okay, that person needs this. Well, I know that this person has that. And you're just trying to connect the dots in a cool way and let everyone win from the situation. So
forming the network.
Yeah.
Putting things together, finding solutions for people in a way that also connects them personally, humanly, as well as with
and a lot of the time,
cable in a physical
and a
sense.
lot of the time I'd actually connect them together. So I would just go, look, you mentioned this last week. Funny enough, I was talking to this guy the other week. He's got what you need. I don't really want anything from it. You guys just have a conversation and see what happens. And ultimately, if deals didn't happen, those relationships were built. And that's what I really enjoyed. I enjoyed helping people build relationships. And I learned pretty quickly that everyone knows everyone. I learned pretty damn quickly that it's such a small place that you can't really act with malice.
No.
Not that I would, but you can't.
No.
You just can't.
It always fascinates me within the industry. You've got a certain select individuals whose name is mud.
Yeah.
And it's mud everywhere. And you look at it and you go, wow, as a single individual, how can you have such a huge negative effect? And then, because everyone knows everyone talks to each other.
Yeah.
It's that same thing, like something good happens to you, you might tell 3 people, something bad happens to you, you'll tell 10.
Yeah.
And it just replicates like that within the industry. I think that's quite a nurturing thing for the industry in itself, though, because it protects it from being full of arseholes.
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. But
that's extent, do you know what I mean? It's got its own anti-echo chamber, for one of better terms. Like if you get put into that.
What
box,
is an anti-echo chamber?
I don't know. We're learning all kinds of stuff now.
That's a Stephen Hawking's question.
Well, unfortunately, that one's not going to be answerable either, is it?
Exactly.
Well played. Well played. And you also failed in mentioning the most influential person that you've met.
Oh, sorry. Can you ask me the question again? Ask me the question again.
You're going to do a cut? Like,
no, there's no cut here, mate. I'm going to throw it back.
Ask me the question again.
Who's the most influential person you met whilst your time at
I
LMC?
met lots of influential people at LMC, Sam, but I've got to say the most influential person was probably you.
Never.
It was. It was.
I did not want to hear my name.
Well, you just heard it. You were the most influential person I met at LMC.
So, being the most influential person, how did we end up here right now?
How did we end up here right now? Well, okay, so from LMC, I went to Martin Audio.
You were there a long time as well, weren't you?
I was at LMC for 5 years, yeah, and I needed a change. I think I needed to. I kind of knew that the next stage was to what I wanted to do was work for a manufacturer. I'd been on one side of the fence, and I was like, okay, well, let's see what it's like on the other side of the fence. And I set my targets on that, and I saw an advert on the socials, read the description. I was like, oh, okay, loudspeaker manufacturer in High Wycombe. There's not many of those about. Okay.
It's pretty specific.
It's pretty specific. I mean, they were pretty stupid to not have Martin Audio written on it, but then that was in the description. But anyway, that's the way it went. And yeah, got hired there, which was amazing, and did the UK for a little bit. And then again, I was like, okay, UK's cool. We're having a fun time. But okay, what's next? EMEA. Let's go. You know, I can sell speakers on this island. Let's see if we can sell speakers at other parts of the world.
Just for the people coming up through the industry, EMEA stands for
Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Australia? No, APAC? No, I don't know.
Wow.
Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Sorry. Yes, go.
Africa, because you have Asia Pacific.
Oh, yeah, Europe, Middle East, Africa. It is.
It is. I'm not
really good with acronyms, though.
Can you believe
I used to sell them.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, I know. That's what I did for a living.
I don't look at the territories.
Yeah.
Matter.
Yeah. There are no territories.
Yeah.
There are no territories. We don't look at borders. Yeah. But yeah.
And this is why we're educating people from the beginning.
We're educating ourselves.
Yeah.
But that's a great thing, isn't it? So even in today's little discussion, we're here on a learning journey of discovery. And yeah, EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's not an industry specific term that covers all business.
All business. Yeah.
It's a territorial coverage.
Yes.
So we've covered that now.
So got that role, and it was an interesting kind of transition from the UK to EMEA, and they were it was very good. They're very cool. They were like, okay, well, there's a couple of territories here that we don't do a great deal of business in. Would you like to give it a go? I was like, 100%, let's go. And it was, and I was able to travel extensively to those places. I've been to places that you'd never go, like Lithuania, Romania, Latvia, Estonia, you know, all these beautiful Bulgaria, all these beautiful countries that you'd never really go to, but I did, and I definitely benefited from it. So, yep, did that EMEA at Martin Audio for a while.
What was the most exciting part of traveling? Because again, just to like give people who don't necessarily get to do this every day some ideas, traveling for business isn't all it's cracked up to be most of the time.
All the time.
No, I think the perception is you're on a jolly, aren't you? Like, oh, you're going off to Italy for 3 days. That's lovely, isn't it? You're like, yeah, mate, I'll be doing 20 hours a day and you don't get any time.
Well, do you know what? I was eased into it. So my first trip was I went to visit a customer in northern Cyprus.
Yeah.
And I, at that point, shameful to say, had no understanding of the Cypriot issues over there, south, north, the whole thing. I had no idea. That's another thing. They need to teach you that kind of stuff at school, but they didn't. And I'd sold a sound system to a lovely gentleman over there, and they were building a nightclub. And he was like, "Would you like to come and witness it?" So I was like, "You know what? Yeah, why not? Let's get on a plane. Why not?" You land in the south. He meets me. You get driven. So I'd never been to Cyprus in my life, which was exciting. So cool. Getting driven in the car, you're heading to a UN border.
Yep,
you've got UN everything. There's UN everywhere. There's guys with guns. It's dogs. it's a border. It's real. Get across there. He's like, give me your passport. I'm like, okay, I'll give you my passport. He gives the passport. I mean, the whole thing takes us an hour to get across. We get across. So that in itself is a culture shock to me. I'm like, okay, that's the first time I'm across a UN border. Brilliant. Then we're driving towards the coast, and it's just incredible to see what is going on over there. It's like lots of interesting hotels and casinos. So get to this hotel, and it's just a building site. This nightclub is a building site. So I'm like, okay, this is great. So when's the club opening? He goes, about 48 hours time. I was like, sorry, mate, 48 hours? Yeah, 48 hours time, we're just going to build it. And basically, all these guys just got off of a coach, stopped outside this luxury hotel, which, by the way, just think of Vegas or Caesar's Palace. Literally look like that. These guys just coming off, and they built a club, witnessed it. They built a nightclub in 48 hours. It was incredible. But basically, what I was brought there for was not to witness it. No. It was to get involved and build it myself as well. So I helped build a nightclub, helped do the whole thing, flying the whole line array, did the whole tuning, and I had no idea. It was incredible. But that was my first trip. So there was no jolly, and I didn't sleep for 2 days.
Well, no one's ever presented that as a day's work.
Yeah, but maybe I probably shouldn't say that I did that, actually, because there's probably all kinds of HR things that
but they're probably old and expunged
now. HR's over, that's last week's problem.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. You've told us about something that's really interesting and a completely random moment in time that probably no one else will ever experience in quite the same way again, and that is the beauty of working in the audio industry and wider entertainment technology, AV as such, because you do get involved in stuff that is completely out there,
out your comfort zone as well,
that lives on the borders of pushing boundaries and trying new stuff out. Building a nightclub in northern Cyprus, crossing a UN border, even just getting stuff there is probably actually a challenge in itself. So there's a huge amount of and I've been to that border. I lived in Cyprus in the southern side for about eight months or so. And I was ushered back when I stepped too far. I had a good look and I had a gun pointed back.
It's real, real stuff.
That is a real thing. But again, the bit that brings it all together, back to humanity again. People on one side, people on another, irrelevant. The thing that's going to bring them both together is music.
The love of music, I think every culture I go to, it's the love of music, isn't it?
Universal, isn't it?
It's everywhere you go, it's just like
breaks down every barrier.
I mean, one would hope it does, definitely. But just to go back to comfort zones and getting out of your comfort zones and stuff, like if you travel for work, I mean, I still am. Would you go and travel to people that you've talked to on WhatsApp, or I've had a little email, or now we're doing video calls after COVID and everything. That's more of a thing we do, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Now it's a little less like that, where you don't even know what the person looks like. But when I was going to places, I had no idea what these people look like.
Going in
I'm literally flying
and meeting people and trying to build a relationship with them, and ultimately your job at that point is to sell a product or
build a relationship,
sell a brand.
And all those relationships that I built then, they're friendships. They're people I still talk to this day. Nothing to do with business. Just, hey, how's the family? How's the kids? And they say the same thing to me.
Because that's based on common values and general respect for each other. So with common values, general respect for each other, we're going to have to say goodbye for today, unfortunately, because we're coming to the end of our period of time to converse and be social with each other. It's been an absolute pleasure. Ciaran, quick fire question for Richard.
Jesus.
Okay. It might not, it's a quick fire out of my mouth, but maybe not as an answer, so apologies. But how much do you think just being up for the challenge and saying yes to an opportunity, or what you perceived as an opportunity in front of you, made an impact to like where you are now from your Marks and Spencer days? Do you know what I mean? As in, like, this is what I want to do. I don't know how to get there. Seeing things and either going for it or just saying, do you know what, I'll go and do that.
I think you just got to say yes to everything, more or less.
And that's the message we're going to depart on today. Thank you, Richard. It's been
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you here. If you want to check out Innosonix, that's innosonix.de.
It is. Please do.
Multi-channel amplifiers with a difference.
They are.
There we go.
Cheers, Rich.
You've heard it here
Cheers,
first.
mate.
So, Ciaran.
Yeah.
Departing words from you?
Piss in the wind and see how much you get on your trousers.
Piss in the wind, see how much you get on the trousers. Thanks very much. Goodbye. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. This has been 2B Social. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.